Kia ora New Zealand. In your news today, Canterburyans are looking back on 2 years which have changed many of their lives forever. Today marks the second anniversary of the 7.1 magnitude earthquake which signalled the beginning of a nightmare. The head of Syria, Roger Sutton, says he would have liked to see more progress for residents by now.
Considering how big this event is, it's very hard to ever try and estimate where we're going to be at a particular point in time. But I think in many ways, I had expected we'd seen, say, more progress in some of the residential repair area.
He also says Christchurch has become a city of two halves.
You've got people who actually feel they can get on with their lives, their houses aren't too damaged, they can get on with things. But for some people who are waiting to get significant earthquake repairs, houses are badly broken, they are still feeling very, very frustrated.
And there is hope that spring and the coming summer will lift spirits in Canterbury and bring to an end what's been described as a 2-year nightmare. Mayor Bob Parker is hoping for better things to come.
Stress levels across the city, I think, are as high now as they've ever been, to be honest. I think that it's just been a non-stop battle. I just hope that with the arrival of spring and hopefully the onset of what could be a great summer, that it lifts our spirits.
And it looks like the kiwi fruit bacteria PSAV has been discovered in the Coromandel. Tests on 4 gold 9 vines in Whenuakaiti are provisionally positive, with a 10-kilometre controlled area now in place around the infected orchard. It's the first reported case in the region, with verification expected tomorrow. And the Māori Council is claiming victory over John Key's backdown on the partial sale of Mighty River Power. The Prime Minister has decided to delay the sale until sometime between March and June. Council co-chairman Manu Paul says it's a victory for race relations. However, Peter Sharples thinks John Key has delayed the partial sale of Mighty River Power to avoid a major war with iwi and other groups. He thinks the Prime Minister is looking for a solution because rights and interests in water have become important.
The main thing to me is that he seems to be listening to the representation of Māori and realise how serious it is.
The government maintains its consultations with Māori over shares plus arrangements in partially floated state energy companies will be genuine. John Key says they will consider anything iwi come up with that they might have missed.
The right course of action is to have that limited period of consultation to make sure there isn't something that we've missed and to make sure that we communicate clearly our understanding of the issues raised by the Waitangi Tribunal.
To the Middle East now, where President Bashar al-Assad of Syria says there will be no dialogue with the opposition before the army crushes the rebels. The president is determined to solve the crisis on the battlefield, even if many more of his people have to pay with their lives. The statement comes a day after activists reported that August was the bloodiest month since the uprising began in March 2011. And Auckland Tourism Events and Economic Development has just kicked off the No Passport Required campaign, which will involve TV and online advertising featuring the city's shopping, eateries and beaches. The $800,000 campaign aims to bring in $2 billion a year by 2021. Martin Snedden, Chief Executive of the Tourism Industry Association, says Kiwis travelling at home contribute $36 million in economic activity every day, which is sometimes undervalued and taken for granted. And a trip to Antarctica will soon be possible for many Kiwis with the launch of sightseeing flights from Auckland to the southern continent in February. The launch comes a day after Air New Zealand announced the final memorial trip to Mount Erebus for the families of the disaster victims. The company says Antarctica is one of the most spectacular and diverse places on Earth, admired by many but visited by few. And not everyone is thrilled with Peter Jackson's decision to turn the Hobbit project into 3 films instead of 2. Some critics have suggested Jackson and his team are stretching a simple story beyond reasonable limits to make more money. The Hobbit is a shorter book with a pretty snappy story, and Guardian film critic James Russell says other franchises have done the same, including Harry Potter and Twilight, but Jackson seems to be taking this idea to the extreme. Ka nui ngā karere mātua mai i te whare kōrero o Rima, Mauri ora.